Why is crypto crashing? Let's have a look. So in case you haven't seen today, we have seen a massive sell-off in both the crypto markets and also the wider economy. So we've seen a massive pullback on the S&P. We have seen a massive pullback on the Nasdaq. We have seen a massive pullback on Bitcoin, a massive pullback on Ethereum, and a massive pullback on Solana. So you may be asking why? What has caused this? In case you've been living under a rock, last week President Trump outlined some tariffs he was placing on various countries across the world at differing degrees. Mostly China, who are subject to immense tariffs on the back of this. But also allies such as the European Union weren't spared. They've been handed a 20% tariff, the UK a 10% tariff, along with a blanket 25% tariff on automobiles. This has been by far the largest shake-up we have seen in the global trading order. And so it's quite natural to see some movement in the markets. However, yesterday and today we have seen massive pullbacks which are akin to some of those that we've seen in COVID. So we look at this on Sunday afternoon, Bitcoin down 10% from the peak. If we look at where Bitcoin came from the last trading session, so if we go all the way back to where it opened in the UK on Friday, that's all the way down 12% pullback. We look at Ethereum. Ethereum got battered. So if we look at where it was yesterday morning, down to the bottom, we are talking about a 22% pullback on Ethereum. If we look at this from the end of the trading, from Friday morning trading session, again, similarly 22%. But then if we look at traditional markets as well, we see this pullback here. So on the S&P, quite brutally, all the way back to when President Trump announced the tariffs on Wednesday, peak to trough, 15% on the S&P 500. If we look on the Nasdaq from the Wednesday, this is even more brutal. If we look at where it was mid-Wednesday trading session all the way to the bottom, look at that, 17% down. It's chaos and the markets have been turbulent. However, when this happens, it presents immense opportunity. If we take the S&P here, so if we go on to the high time frame, so let's have a look on the weekly, we can see just how deep this pullback has been since President Trump took office. We have gone past this April pullback. When's the next stop? Are we looking at potentially where we were a year before pre-election? We're back below where we were when Trump got elected. How low do we go? Do we go back to here? I'd like to take you back to this. This was the COVID crash, so we can see all the way down. If we look from where it was to the bottom, we have seen a 35% pullback. Whereas if we look, if we look at where President Trump took office, he took office in here, 20th of January, down to the bottom, 20%. So it's not as severe as the COVID drop, but it's still pretty scary. You look at this, we have wiped out pretty much a year's worth of gains. However, this has presented tremendous opportunity. We have been presented with some great opportunities to accumulate stocks, to a great opportunity to accumulate Bitcoin. If we look at Bitcoin on the weekly here, we have what I like to call the range of death here. I for those of you who were around during this was the most boring time, I think, in crypto. We had this mega run up, beautiful and really euphoric, and then once we smashed through the all-time high, we just had months and months of just sideways downward action. It was choppy. And then, boom, rocket ship. We're cooling back off this now, and I think the real question is sort of how low do we go? Do we hold here? Do we go lower and look to liquidate around here? Is this the end of the bull market? I don't think so. I think we pull back, a little accumulation around here, and then we rip upwards. We rip really hard and really fast, and who knows where we go to. That's Bitcoin. I think Ethereum. For those of you who hold Ethereum, I think it's much more of a sadder tale. We saw this run up at the start of the year, a deep pullback before, again, rally, couldn't quite capture the heights that it has done. And this cycle, Ethereum has gone nowhere near its all-time high. We see it go back here, and then as part of the Trump rally, boom, up to $4,000, and then it has just been misery since. We've gone all the way down here, and it's looking interesting. I mean, it's a really scary zone when we look at sort of this void here. You've got this massive void all the way down. There's not actually a whole lot of support left. If you look, you've probably got this area here as a level of support before we could potentially go back to where we were all the way back sort of pre-COVID, which for something like Ethereum is crazy to think about. Solana, what a journey this one has been on. We see pump, accumulate, pump, and then we see this here, and then on the back of Trump's meme coin, boom, all the way up here, and it has just been a miserable grind backwards. However, what is the outlook here? I personally think the outlook here is very, very positive. I think the tariffs are noise, and as Jerome Powell keeps saying, if you focus out and zone out the noise, the tariffs are noise. I don't think personally they'll stick. I think they're a starting point for Trump to get where he wants to, and I think there's a game that he's playing which I'll delve deeper into another video, but his game is going to plan so far, and I think if you zone out on the noise and you look at the opportunity that's been presented, I think it's monumental. Like, you look at this chart, tell me that this chart, whenever it pulls back, it rips again, and we look, it pulled back here, and look, at a couple of months of pain, boom, ripped. Here, very deep, very intense pain, then boom, ripped. We see here a smaller pullback, boom, ripped. Boom, ripped. And then similar story with the Nasdaq, we see boom, rip. Boom, rip. Boom, rip. It's one of those, isn't it? You don't want to get left behind. We see here, look, up there, pulls back. We see the consolidation, little pullback there, rip. Pull back, boom, rip. Pull back, boom, rip. Little pullback, boom, rip. And then we see this pulling back and back and back and back. How low does it go? I think it's near impossible to find the bottom, but let me tell you, if you look at history, this thing is boom, rip. So it's an interesting one. I think certainly the tariffs are just noise. I think if you can zone out of the noise, there's tremendous opportunity ahead. So yeah, I would stick to the course. I definitely think potentially we see a couple more days of pain on Bitcoin. So if we go back onto the hourly, we see it's pulled this V-shaped reversal, closes this. I think potentially we drift back a little bit and come back and test some of these. But I think there's tremendous opportunity here, and if we look, Stonksy, my indicator, caught it. This indicator is fantastic. for catching moves like this. We see it caught the short there, caught the long there, caught the long there, caught a short there. Fantastic, really helpful tool. You can find a link in my bio to that one. But yeah, I think we've got a really, really fun rest of 2025 ahead of us. I think there's tremendous opportunity. Yeah, and if you'd like me to do more of these, comment, like, subscribe, and yeah, let's see what 2025 brings us. But I think there's tremendous opportunity for those who wish to stay the course. I mean, but this just looks like it's getting ready to rip again, and let me tell you, you don't want to miss out. The scared money was here. The scared money was here. The scared money was here. There was scared money here. Don't let yourself be the scared money here. I think strap in and get ready for a really, really fun end of the year. Thank you.